Hey, good evening, guys. I want to do a quickie. Um, I felt like with how much I've been thinking about, honestly, the Candace Owens Andrew Wilson debate, I feel like it has an important kind of weight that nobody understands because of the subtext of a conversation that I don't think falls on anybody's deaf ears. There's just a lot of people that don't want to have to deal with another excuse for uh, defending Israel again, right? For the people that really care about that because they think doing that fixes the world. Uh, Honestly, I think that they're just doing it wrong. Um, but that's a whole other story because I'm not playing this game. This is not gotcha Israel game for me. I don't think any of us are qualified to play that game, and I think we're blind to how we've conditioned ourselves to um, believe that this is the right way to treat the situation of those who treat the Jews and Israel differently. Because that's really what this is. If it wasn't about the suspicion of this situation, then it would not be such a kind of cover up situation. It makes no sense. So, what will become of American politics because of this debate? Interesting. People in harmony. I think there's going to be a new kind of consensus. In the wilds, creating success fruitful to cross the great river, a noble one's constancy bears fruit. Who's been the noble and constant one? There is strength and energy in alliance. Find like minded others. People in harmony can commit themselves further, take greater risks, and enter new territories. Once there is agreement, follow the vision tenaciously with the constancy of a noble one. What are the unique contributions? Where is the common ground? How will your life change if your group expands? So I think a bunch of people are going to find themselves in greater and greater agreement with um, uh, people that um, have had good, rational conversations about things Candace Owens is talking about. And because that debate kept itself mostly in the realm of the issue of the Fed charges, which is the heart and soul of what makes everything suspect for Candace, and quite frankly, for people just interested in what happened. It's a question of, are you interested in what happened at the crime scene or not? This is interesting to people. It's like insulting to guys that like to do the guy thing with this, because crime scene investigations is a it's a really exciting, like, men are really fucking good at getting into that and being like asking, like just look at what I do when I look over a fucking problem in any of my fucking videos. All right, let's find out what America's guiding spirit in this is. Holy shit. Ho ho! Elder fucking Eagle. So, Soar with Insight is what the Elder Eagle represents in this deck. And the Eagle represents so many things. It's effectively a phoenix. It's got a draconic allusion to it, depending on how you want to split that phoenix symbolism, right? And everything else about what this bird is and why we chose it instead of a fucking turkey. which a turkey looks way more like a skexy than an eagle does, right? Well, why was he so diligent on a goddamn fucking turkey anyway? Um, where is? Did I have the book? I do have the book. Let's take a listen to Elder Eagle's prayer. Gichiayu Migizi. Migizi is the eagle, okay? I come to you with great celebration, gliding on the wind to honor your gifts of vision and insight. Ask for my energy to help you when you need to expand your horizons so that you may increase your ability to see the biggest picture. I hand you a feather in gratitude for meeting the call of your ancestors and walking in a good way. Cherish your medicine, tend to it, and share it with the world. With me by your side, you cannot fail. Yeah, yeah, yes, because that is so the expansive thinking of the matter. A feather in gratitude, who was the more gracious, so on and so forth. So we're in quite the place here. All right, let's give this one. Let's give this one a 4-point spread and see if I want to take it into expansion. We got 3 of stones and Ansu's reversed. All right, so creativity. This is the freedom of speech issue, because if Candace does not have the ability to think, she does not have the ability to create, and then she doesn't have things to say, and her company functions under the privileges of her independent production, right? You know, she is liable, legally accountable for her words and everything else. Um, Ansu's. Ansu's. Reversed, right? So, the issue is could you have asked for a more pertinent demonstration of Ansu's reversed than the insistent interruptions? Um, like, it's one thing to interrupt somebody if they're in the middle of making a certain kind of statement, and perhaps they're misquoting you in real time or something like that, right? But outside of anything that is that you are saying is wrong about you personally, you got to let that other person fucking finish their sentence, and then once you fucking have asked your interrogative question, let them answer it in the way that they answer it, and then you think about the answer that they said, right? He only wanted to ask questions. He wanted to ask a bunch of yes or no questions because he wanted the thought behind the question entirely in his head, because he doesn't want her to say words he doesn't understand, because it would make him look like a retard in front of people that he believes are retards, and it would dishonor him. Okay. 9 of stones. Tradition. So people are thinking about the sense of, what is the sense of decorum in getting back to anything that we're doing with our question of why we are here, right? Was this just all about free speech and nothing to do with the actual issue of who killed a man, and to what scope uh, who that person was? Othal. Othal. And we're thinking about how insecure we are in our understanding uh, of how little we considered the ramifications of everything. Um, that if you look into what Candace has said is the truth she is basing her inferences on, it's quite a big deal. Eight of Arrows reversed, struggle. So a lot of people are failing to accept that this is something you're going to have to deal with, right? They want to avoid the necessary struggle for growth. So a lot of people are going to get turned off to following um, the conversation about the trial, right? Um, because they're trying to frame Candace in this. They're trying to amp her up to a Alex Jones Sandy Hook level of outrage of insensitive things one can say on a free speech platform. Except instead of it being a white man, it's a black woman. Otherwise, it's a Christian conservative independent media person, right? So it's the same as Alex Jones in that respect. So there's a theme there in the framing mechanism. Um, and Candace demonstrates that she is in honor of her legal understanding of the law to be doing things and is being very, very honest about that. Uwaj. Uwaj. Right? So yeah, this is a sad making sense of things, right? This is this is at the center of that same place that your heart goes when you think about the implications of the JFK assassination cover up and seeing this happen in real time and being so sick and tired of living in the time loop of here we are, it's the 1960s again, except everybody's queer. Right? um, and much more sadistic than they ever were. All right, the seer. There's going to become a significant increase. I think we're going to see um, a new phase of unconscious women as this goes on down the line, as people continue to talk about this. That there will be many women that end up having more wit and wisdom and foresight. More of their intuition is going to activate. They were inspired by how she handled herself being talked to by a man of that caliber. And you know, her poise in that whole thing, that is going to play well with anybody, right? And people are afraid to talk about the real substance. So the way they are cutting this debate to try and react to it is very funny to me. Um, and it tells you a thing or two about all sorts of people. Some of them, I expected it. And we got Hagalas here. Wow, that's a big sign. A clarity process and a cleansing process. Um, this is correlating with a big click in the feminine zeitgeist's head that is going to bring us to a vision of a healing process. Because the decisions that women that hear this whole conversation are going to make, right? What's going through the hearts and minds of the women that have um, always been called retarded, for whatever. And the problem that there is with the crassness of a man who, you know, it's one thing if it's just some average people around you and it's got nothing to do with your interest in making them a better person because it's none of your business, just like it's none of my business, and we're all whatever. And she does something stupid, and it's just part of the pattern of the retarded things that women like. Men are also retarded to women. They just don't say it because typically the men are doing an okay job. But there's retarded shit that they don't talk about because they know how much that hurts. But if you hurt them in what you do, they'll bring it up. Anyway, flow. Go with the flow as water trickles down a stream. Do not hurry. So, in short, it'll be so subtle that it'll just exist within the beat of society because of the new tone that women are going to set. Anyway, is there any further I want to expound on this? So tell me more about the struggle, because that's the one card that came up reversed. Right, so Ten of Vessels here, happiness, right? They're avoiding the struggle um, because we're all conditioned to trust that when we know something we're hearing is going to make us unhappy, that we have permission to reject it if we can't confirm it. And so we hate it when we're forced to accept things, that we're forced to see the confirmation that we cannot lie to ourselves about anymore, right? And so you're avoiding the struggle so you can avoid the emotional cost of feeling like such a fool. We have Ingvas. And so this emotional process is transforming you, and you're afraid of interrupting that transformation, right? Which that's the that's the loosh injection. That's the dopamine hit of the feeling that you're part of the greater good, and you don't want that illusion shattered. And nor should that illusion be shattered, because you're not lying to yourself if there's good happening that you can confirm, or acting like we have to destroy everything because conspiracies exist and we're obviously smart enough to say the exact truth and we're being denied it, and so that proves that now's the time to act, or so, I don't know, something like that. People just, They talk like they expect us all to be suicide soldiers. And I'm just like, this is why people don't want to be around that kind of rhetoric. You're jumping the shark with the warning, and you're losing people that don't want to um, fall out of the security of everything around them, right? Like, anyway, it doesn't matter. um, so let's talk about how Ansu's um, has its function here reversed, right? Because I think a lot of people are going to want to think of how do you deal with arguing with people like this, right? Because sometimes it feels like when people like that have so much influence that you do have a kind of very, very strong fascist force that would be kind of part of the asshole brigade that enforces things outside the purview of the state that we're supposed to live in, where there's no quartering and that there's protection of a person in a general sense in their property, and that we have a system of government that gives us a chance to be served warrants in a civil fashion where we can show up on an agreed date on my own recognizance, and all these different things that make violence unnecessary and the duty of answering to someone's issue with me. So I've pulled Fehu here, right? So it's the issue of how money involved in the situation affects the authenticity of the matter, right? Especially because everybody wants to make sure you remember that this debate happened for 300K to some charity, I believe, right? It's gonna be the last card I pull. We have the ancestors reversed, and so it was about the money that was there to sever us from proper traditional practices of rational thought. Very simple. Okay. Thanks so much. Have a good night.